Has your PhD got you a man this Christmas, or are you going to be alone? Has your PhD managed to get you a man? Has your education managed to get you a man?
I would not choose. I would not choose to date into something like that. I got choose to be single.
Okay.
I'm a PhD.
Okay. Is it me, or has anyone ever noticed how the Manosphere will berate women for pursuing so-called quote-unquote useless degrees, but align themselves with academics in the humanities, which is one of the many fields it deems as insignificant? The goal, of course, is the pursuit of academic legitimacy. Politicians, journalists, law enforcement officials, and others have long relied on academic expertise to strengthen the credibility of their works and ideas. It was academics, after all, who notably pioneered broken window policing, and the academy was complicit in the institution of slavery and Native American land dispossession. This reality is why Manosphere figures boast about having academics in their camps and ignore the fact that many of these scholars are in disciplines that the groups consider quote-unquote useless. I'll give you some examples. Warren Farrell has a PhD in political science. Janice Flamingo holds a PhD in English. Dr. Thunder has a PhD in music. T. Hassan Johnson has a PhD in cultural studies, which is an interdisciplinary degree. And Ron O'Neill is in religious studies. And I can go on and on. I likely wouldn't have made this video if it wasn't for the Manosphere simultaneously praising these scholars while tarnishing my academic discipline and degree. I long knew if I was in their camp, they would have celebrated me. But these attitudes expressed by folks in the Manosphere and their skepticism about higher education alludes to an observation I made a while ago. A lot of these men and women in the space have a deep level of insecurity when it comes to college-educated people. Don't get me wrong, college isn't for everybody. And higher education has a share of problems. For one, universities are indeed too sclerotic in producing graduates who can retain what they learn and leave with real-world skills. In fact, two authors in a 2011 study called Academically Adrift tested 2,300 college students on what they learned in college. After freshman and sophomore years, 45% demonstrated essentially no learning improvement. After 4 years, 36% of students still demonstrated no improvement in key areas, including writing and critical thinking. Furthermore, a report in my sophomore year of college discovered that most college students did little reading in their first 2 years of school, save English and history majors. Yahoo! Second, elite institutions far too often pride themselves by their selection criteria rather than the quality of their graduates. Despite all these issues, I'm still a strong believer that education is a great equalizer, and study after study has shown that college-educated people make more money in their lifetime than non-college educated adults. A college education affords you more geographic mobility and makes you more open-minded. Now, I know the Manosphere loves citing anecdotal examples of successful non-college educated people, but the exception doesn't make the rules. At the end of the day, we are living in a knowledge-based economy and compete globally. Besides the constant grumbling of women rejecting blue-collar men, some men in the space desperately want to be seen as intellectuals and think everybody can claim to be an autodactic. Rollo Tomassi and BGS Itmore are prime examples. Both advertise themselves as intellectuals but hide behind pseudonyms and avatars, respectively. Neither have published anything peer-reviewed or received recognition by a group of professional peers. You might cast me as an elitist for saying that because there are certainly historical figures who lack degrees and are considered public intellectuals, which is true, but everybody isn't Malcolm X. And people tend to forget public intellectuals who lack advanced degrees often receive mentorship and put their ideas in the public sphere. Social media tends to make people feel more significant than they actually are. The insecurity these men express is also reflective of their inability to perform manhood. Black women in particular outnumber black men in college and even in traditionally male-dominated fields. Thus, college-educated black women, more than any other group, marry non-college educated men. So to compensate, Manosphere figures berate college-educated women by highlighting selective videos of women not giving non-college educated men a chance, having quote-unquote too much debt, and for allegedly being dysfunctional despite having a college education.
They feel their PhD will make up for their lack of looks. They feel their PhD will make up for them being overweight.
Ostracized convictions about higher education lead some folks to argue that college is pointless if you don't plan to become a doctor, a lawyer, financier, or engineer. As if we don't need teachers, social workers, therapists, and various other honorable professions that aren't the most lucrative endeavors. Far too often, there is more respect for established professionals with so-called useless degrees than individuals who are in the process of pursuing those careers.